Yeah, good. Yes.
Hi, Deroy. I
How
am
you
so
doing?
sorry to be late. Technical issues, but it's good to be here. I am great. How are you?
Look here, I am fantastic. Don't worry about that.
Won-
When when
Wonderful.
our fans say we need these things to be addressed and Money Matters
Yes,
can bring the professionals, we are all happy.
yes,
So you don't have a problem. I
wonderful.
apologize. But I have to bring you in the Money Matters way. You're going to be
Yes.
shocked. All right. Because of time, I have to cut it. What Yaksta is saying, him can secure film asset because him just need to fence it wrong. Just think about it. He can secure
It
film
takes
asset.
more than that.
It takes more than you can fence around the sea.
Protecting his asset against his neighbor or thieves. It goes further than that. We're talking about
Okay.
protecting your assets against lawsuits, creditors, and forces of nature. So it's not just to protect your land from your neighbor or your neighbor's cows to ensure that they don't come on the property. No, it's more than that, Joseph. It's way
All
more
right.
than that.
All right. So you can't just drop a fence. All right. Well.
That's good enough. That's very good. That's a start. But you'll have to do more than that.
All right.
So
Chantel
tonight,
needs
Joseph, tonight, I'm going to look at 5 ways in which you can protect your assets. I'm going to look at insurance coverage. I'm going to look at forming companies, creation of trust. You have your will. Give me a second. And you have so you have 5 ways. You have many ways, but I'm going to look at 5 main ways. The first one is to get your insurance coverage. A lot of persons don't.
Chantel.
Yes.
Chantel.
Yes.
Look here. Before you hit that, I want to say something.
Yes.
There are two recent cases where husband said
yes,
wife wants too much and they are in the court. It's public knowledge. And this week, a wife said husband want too much. So we have to look at protecting through marriage.
So of course you have to look at that too. So one of the ways I'm going to touch on is your prenuptial agreement. So we're going to get there, David. All right. So the first one is your insurance coverage. No, when you talk about your asset, it's not just about your personal assets. We're talking about your business assets. So you need to get insurance. I don't need to tell you what is insurance. You know what it is. But get insurance for your home. Can I tell you a story, Delroy? A cousin of mine, he spent millions building his house. And then there was a fire. The good thing, though, the house was insured. So he was able to recover that money to build back his house. Can you imagine if he had to start from scratch all over again? That would have been
crazy.
That would have been crazy.
Insurance protection.
Yes, and it's not, as I said, it's not just for your personal assets. I know someone who got insurance for a little, what do you call it, their poultry production, the little chicken farm. She got that as well. So when we had a major hurricane a few years ago, she lost everything, but she was able to recover quite quickly, very quickly, because of insurance coverage. So that's a very good way to protect your asset, getting insurance.
Good. It's true because we insure our vehicles. We insure it. Yeah, it's the same thing.
They just insure the vehicle because the law says you are supposed to insure your vehicle. But they don't do anything more than that. They just leave it at their vehicle. But you need to insure your business. You know, you insure it against liability. Someone can come in and they have a fall. You don't want to have to be in court defending, not defending yourself, but to pay out because of a lawsuit that can destroy your business.
Okay.
So you need to have insurance covering these things.
All right. 2 of the person that asks about protecting assets, they are actually on.
Wonderful.
Can you insure the bees? Can I insure my
All right,
vehicle?
You see, because I'm not an insurance agent, I can't tell you specifically that you can insure this and you can insure that. What I can say to it that tomorrow you need to get on the phone and call an insurance agent ASAP. Tomorrow as you wake up, speak to an insurance agent. I am an attorney, so I can't tell you exactly how that is.
I'm actually going to follow up on this one, and it's pretty interesting. I am going to follow up on this one.
Yeah, man, but they have so many policies these days. I wouldn't be surprised if you can actually insure that. Because trust me, you have quite a lot of coverage these days. Different policies.
Yeah, we're going to get the answer and come back to your B-Pro for sure. We're going to get the answer and come back.
I keep saying, if it's a registered business, a B production, only production, you should be able to. It's a business. Once it is registered, you can go to them. I see no problem why you shouldn't be able to register it. Okay. So it's not just about registering a B. It's more about your company and getting protection for your business.
Okay. All right, good.
Yes. Right. Another way, so we have passing the insurance coverage. That should be clear. Another way you can protect your asset is to form a company. So let's say you have your house, and you can go back to the case with the husband and wife. You can have a house and you have a home. You can create a company and you can put that property under the company. So you know that if anything is to go down, that company is a separate legal entity. That's a total different body from you. So while your husband or your wife can go after your other assets that you own in your own name, they can't really touch the company. So that's a great way to protect your assets. And a lot of persons are doing that these days.
But, okay, so even if the wife, well, let me put it the other way. Even the husband owns 40% of the company and the wife owns 25% and others.
That's different because at that point, that's a bit different because at that point, they both would have been shareholders. You understand? So they legally, they're entitled to a share. But this, if let's say it is solely, and let me not say owned by the husband because a company, and I'm not talking about just registering a business name. I'm talking about creating a company. A company is a separate legal entity. You don't really own a company. It stands on its own. So when you create your company and you transfer ownership of that property to the company, it's no longer yours. You don't really have an interest in it. So if someone is supposed to attack your asset, your personal asset, they can't touch your company. Or the drawback though, Joseph, is that if something is to happen in the business and there's a lawsuit, you know that your business assets are at risk. And but that goes back to your insurance coverage. So that can be protected by getting insurance. You understand? So you're seeing the link now, Joseph?
Yeah, man. I am sold. I like point 2 and I like point 1. The third one.
The third one we have is creation of a trust. This is something that if you Google trust, you will see it's a very big thing in the state, but it's seldom utilized in Jamaica. It's not a very common thing here. So let me explain what exactly is a trust. A trust is you, let's say you go back to the house. You own a house, you're really giving it up legally. So you're transferring ownership of that property to another person. So you're going to transfer your property to John Brown, but it's for the benefit of you or another person. So legally, John Brown becomes the owner, but you're going to sign up what is called a trust deed. That's going to tell you how that property is to be governed. So they are holding that property for your benefit.
Okay.
So that is one way you can also protect your assets. And it was today I was on the phone with a company. They actually do that in Jamaica. So you can go do your research tomorrow. You do have companies that provide trustee services.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 4.
Yes. Prenuptial agreement. So yes. A lot of persons, they don't like this one because they're saying, look, if I'm going to enter into a marriage and you're going to tell me about signing an agreement. No, we're not going to get into it. But it's something you can talk to can talk about your spouse with, you know, sit down. Nothing is wrong with coming to some agreement on paper to say, look, if this marriage doesn't work, this is how the assets will be separated. So it's about you tailoring an agreement to suit both of you. You understand? So it's not, you don't really have to say, look, if something happens, you don't get anything here.
But we may do it like a contract. Sean, we more view it like it's a contract instead of a love homely thing, you know. So we're not signing a prenup. We're not signing a prenup now. You have to give me another way of it.
It's not I rather to look at it as an agreement. You know, when you're getting into a marriage, you're supposed to discuss certain things. And this is something that you can have a talk. Look, I'm coming into this marriage with a house. If we're supposed to, this house was handed down, you know, I got it from my grandma. It means a lot. So if we're supposed to go away or separate ways, I would like to probably give it 10% or maybe nothing at all. You know, it's about getting fairness, arriving at some. It must be fair. So nothing is wrong with prenup, you know. Person like to throw up, but I would get a prenup.
All right, you touch on a point. I want to be clear. This house was not bought by neither of the couple. None of them. It was inheritance.
Yes.
So you're telling me that I'm going to marry a lady and she's going to come and inherit something that was an inheritance? Can work?
Could you repeat? I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay.
And that's why I say, but Delroy, the law actually provides for this, you know, because let's say there's no agreement in place. If it's with the matrimonial home, you might go to court and say, I'm supposed to get 50-50. Because, you know, when you're getting a divorce, the matrimonial home is divided equally. It's supposed to be. But one of the exceptions to that is that the property was inherited. Or it was owned before, prior to the wedding, the marriage.
Right.
So that's actually law for that. You don't really have to wait to go to court. And that's the whole reason that you should get a prenup. The whole purpose of a prenup is to prevent a lawsuit. You know, you don't need to go to court to decide this. That's why you both can sit down and say, this is how I would want it to be settled. Should we go through this? So let's put it in paper.
No, but if I told you, this was passed down from my grandmother. God, man, have conscience. You can't expect to get a piece of this property.
People you can't leave it to person to have conscience. That's why you can go to an attorney, because first and foremost, the prenup, it must be in writing, and it must be signed by both of you after receiving legal advice, independent legal advice. So both of you sit down with your attorney, have your attorney draft a very fair prenuptial agreement and sign to it, you know. So you can't just say, oh my God, this is fair, man. Come on, I came into this with this property. You can't leave it to that. You can't leave it to that.
No, I'm not joking. I take it serious enough. I work hard. I leave a house for my daughter. I leave a house for my daughter. She get married, and then some man going to say, hey, I must get half of that house.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time. And you might be able to, you know, because guess what? Look at it, Delroy. If both of you have been married for 10 years, let's say there's no agreement in place, and you have been married for 10, 20 years, and you probably took out a loan to do some extensive repair on the property, you can actually show that you have an interest in it. And, you know, if you're going through a divorce, you can actually prove that maybe, you know, I'm entitled to a 10 or 20% or 50. So you do have these cases, and that's why it is important for you to have an agreement at the beginning.
So
because they can put forward.
So the advice is low and clear. If you want to buy your house, you want to repair your house.
But sometimes it can't be. You can't avoid that, you know, because when you love someone, you're gonna want to work together, and that's why, as I said, just get put your agreement in place. So even if they help you do certain things, or expend a large amount of cash on your property, you know that at the end of the day, this agreement will take effect, and it will be shared according to what we laid on at the beginning, and that is that I will get full custody or ownership, or whether it was 90-10, I don't know how, but you're supposed to sit down and come to something that you consider fair. So you can say if something happens, you get 10%, you get 20%, or you get nothing at all. The good thing is that both of you are supposed to get independent legal advice. So if you go to your attorney with this and they say, okay, this is the effect of this agreement, this is what will happen if you sign to it, and once that is explained to you and you agreed to it, then it is binding.
Okay. So you must get independent legal advice.
You have to. It has to be in writing, and both of you must get independent legal advice. And that attorney has to certify in the agreement to say that it was explained to you. The terms must, because it's a very serious thing, it's a very prenuptial agreement, man. It's a very serious document. So it has to be explained to you fully. You have to understand every terms before you sign to it.
You work hard for your asset, and you have to work hard to protect it.
You have to protect it, man. You have to get your insurance. You create your trust. If you're getting married, you can do your agreement, and it goes on. And your company, creating your company. A lot of persons, that's a very big thing.
You have a fifth one.
Oh, it's the last one. Could you repeat that, Delroy?
No, you have a fifth one.
Yes, it's creating your will. You might not be able to do a trust document. You might not you might not do a company, but at least have some say as to what will happen to your assets should you pass tomorrow or the day after, whenever you do. So I always recommend you to get a will drafted, because if you don't, the law will dictate who will benefit from your property, or should I say your assets, and you don't want that, because you might have some persons who they're not responsible. Some person will probably didn't help you acquire these things, they might stand to benefit from it. So when you create your will, at least you have a say from the grave, So that's a very important way to protect your assets. And can I say this? You can also use your will to create your trust. So you can say, upon my death, I want this property to be held by so-and-so for the benefit of my daughter or my niece or whoever. So yes, a will is very important.
Let me ask a question. Could I put in my will that I do not want the property that I'm leaving behind to be sold under 25 years or under 40 years? So no matter even if she married somebody, then can't take the property and go sell it? Could that be done in a will?
Unfortunately, you can't, because if you leave your will to your daughter, it becomes hers. She will be the legal owner, and she will be able to exercise all acts of ownership, all the rights. So whatever rights of the company ownership, they can't believe. No. Unfortunately, you can't. Okay. You can't. But you can accomplish that if you create a trust. Because you can say, okay, the title can be held by whatever company or whichever person, but it's for the benefit of my daughter. So she can live in there for as long as she wants, but the title will not pass to her. So you might not be able to accomplish that using your will, but you can get that in a trust.
Hey, Money Matters fam, I sort out my legal problem. And I don't need to put a fence around it like Yaksta. So put fence around it.
Don't discourage them, man. Get that fence. Get that fence. You're protecting your assets against those stray animals and all that, and the thieves. That's a very good way to protect your assets as well. Yeah, so don't discourage the fencing.
So the quick rundown, you want to protect your assets in simple terms. You get insurance. You form a company, you can buy the stocks, because you can buy the stocks through your company and it will always be protected. You create the trust. You have prenup. and you have a will.
Yes.
Then money
Yes.
couldn't ask for more than that. Guys, you ask.
Those are very simple ones. Start there. Yes.
Okay.
Those are very basic, and you can start. You can start there. In fact, you can start with the insurance tomorrow, Delroy.
Yes. Well, if you don't know, Chantel is also a realtor. She's an entrepreneur, and she's the attorney speaker. So you get it. And me tell you so, she tell you. And as I said, of interest, I saw where where the communication in the paper was saying that the wife said that the gentleman put in only $1.3 million. So is that is what he's entitled to?
I saw it too. He wanted 50% because he said that it was his matrimonial home. But one of the things that went in her favor was that it was the marriage was of a short duration. That's one of the exceptions to the 50-50 rule as well. The marriage was of short duration, and the law looks at marriage like 3 years to 1. That's very short. So that's one of the ways you can vary the 50-50 rule by saying, look, we just got married.
All right, I am not married. I just want to know some things, just for the record. So when you're married, you have to say you have a matrimonial home?
All right. It's not that you have to say. Let's say you get married, and there's a property that is either owned by both of you or one of you, and you both move in, you live in that property. That's the matrimonial home. You know, it's the place where you both you sleep, you eat, you do everything there. So when you get to
what if you move every 6 months?
Repeat that?
What if you move, you relocate every 6 months? What if you relocate every 6 months?
But at what point would you relocate?
Every 6 months.
When you're getting the divorce?
No.
Every 6 months. Wow. So you're telling me that you have no permanent fix about no. The thing is, everything it varies. Go on, repeat that, Delroy.
No, because you said the court would look at a short duration. So I was just thinking, since I did short, if I move from place to place every 6 months, then really and truly I don't tie down a matrimonial home.
That would be very unique. That would be a very unique case. But look at this. If you move around, but this is a house that has your furniture. Whenever you move around, well, you probably come back to this is the base. It probably can be viewed as a matrimonial home. I'm yet to see that, because some persons, they travel a lot. But even if they're gone for 3-4 months, the wife would probably be at that particular home. The kids will probably leave to school from that particular home. So it you understand? So you can say, look here, this is actually the house. We're not here 24/7 or every month, but this is actually the base. So that can be considered the matrimonial home.
When the Rooks is actually agreeing with it, that some people are traveling, some people are really traveling. Yeah, the person is agreeing with it that some people, that some persons constantly.
That's why you have to look at every case and its own facts. You have to examine each case. You understand? So it's not a one cap fit everybody. It doesn't work like that. So you have to examine the case, and then your attorney would put forward the argument as to why it's not, while the other attorney is saying, okay, this is the reason why it is the matrimonial home. They do travel, but at the end of the 3 months or the 4 months, they come back to this place. This is where the bills come. The light bill, whatever bills they have, if they're going to register the company, this is the address they use. So it's tricky, but you can actually look forward to.
All right, Chantel, you have 2 questions. What happens if both persons move and there's no asset to split then, or if both persons move together, there is no asset to split? You're not living in the particular house. I'm reading
this is it, Are we talking about the matrimonial home?
Yeah.
Well, if there's, I've done many divorces and there's just no matrimonial home, you know, because it's not, there isn't a home in every case. It's not like that. Not in all cases, you're going to find a matrimonial home. Because some persons they rent for one, some persons rent property. They rent their home. So it's not owned by either of them. So that will not be a matrimonial home.
If it is rented,
so it is possible that you can. It has to be owned by one of you or both for it to be considered a matrimonial home. Can I tell you something though, Delroy? Can I tell you something? It is possible because the law talks about the home and not the land. So it is possible that the land is not owned by anybody, but the home is owned by both of you. So you have cases where, let's say, your grandmother or your mother gives you permission to build on it, and you and your husband move on the property and you build, the title wasn't transferred to. so what's going to happen is that they're going to say, look, the property can't be sold because you don't have the title, but this is what you're going to do. Get the house valued. And if it is valued at $10 million, $5 million is his. So what you can do is going to be seen as a title. So you are supposed to pay him that $5 million. So you go to the bank, get the $5 million and pay him, because obviously you can't sell it because the land is not yours, but the house is. So but that's not different to talk.
All right, you have to take this one. You have to take this one before we go, Sean. It said, what if the company listed in the trust dissolved and no longer exists?
Well, this is it. Once you put the company under the trust, you would have created a trust deed that tells you what should happen and all of that. Because he's talking about a trust. I'm trying to understand if he's talking about who will get what and what will happen if he's being sued. I'm not understanding what exactly is going with the question. Because if the trust if the company is dissolved, there's not much can be done. The company is no longer in existence. So but I'm trying to understand what exactly.
Okay, I can interpret it. So the company dissolved, it means that the asset of the company must reside in the trust. Because the trust deed is supposed to be dictating all that is taking place. It's like you have a power of attorney, and the power of attorney said you can only do X, Y, Z, Z, Z. So that is my understanding.
Yes.
Tell me if I'm correct.
Well, if the company was a part of the trust, then the documents would have dictated what would happen to those assets.
Okay.
So whether it's gonna be sold, it's gonna be owned by the. So let's say it's a property. The property was a part of the company. It's dissolved. You can transfer ownership fully now to the trust. So the trust can now own the company instead of the company owning the property. So there are many scenarios. There are many things. You understand? So it's hard to say this is what will happen. It was down to the facts in that particular case. So,
Ricky, and if you need further guidance,
it might be dissolved because there's a lawsuit and it's liquidated. So that property has to be liquidated to take care of that lawsuit, whatever that. So a lot of things can happen.
All right. Ricky, if you need further guidance, DM her on our page, her IG page is there. Go follow her, send her your question, and if you need her service, you know where to find her. She has been dealing with many cases. I do have a case. I do have a case because I'm going to get married, so I do have a case. But
no, you do know where to find
me. So guys, go follow her, get your advice. If you need her service, you know exactly how to reach her. We thank you very much to come to Money Matters Monday in your busy time. We take even more than half hour of your time. And we know you did it for fun. You're doing it for us. We educate, we entertain, we inform, and we inspire. And Money Matters Monday. Thank you.
It was good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys, for staying on. All right? Remember, hook her up. Peace. Stay safe.
Take care.